Hi, and welcome to a new episode of the Luxembourg PE&VC Stories. Today's guest will be Diana Ogunlesi. She's head of the Luxembourg office at Arcmont. Hi there, Diana.
Hi, Stefan. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
The same for me. So let's start directly. Arcmont, tell us more about your group. Who, when, and how did this whole adventure start?
Right. So Arcmont was started in 2011 by a group of European credit professionals. And then in 2019, we went independent and owner managed. So our strategy is to provide credit to European mid and upper mid companies with the objective of providing attractive and risk-adjusted returns to our investors. So we have different strategies by which we lend to these companies, which we'll go through a bit later. And yes, so that's sort of our philosophy. So over the course of the years, we have developed a lot of relationships with our sponsors. And we have about 120 sponsors that we work with. And this has helped with our deal origination. And now we also, since inception, we have raised about 40 billion euros and have a database of 450 institutional limited partners.
Very interesting foundation. So tell us more about the verticals and also about the typical investments you would conduct.
Yes, so our lending strategies are impact lending. It's a newer strategy which we launched quite this year. And that is focused on companies, European companies that are providing objectives which are environmental and social. Then we also have the capital solutions. So that is sort of similar to a special SITS situation. And our expectation there is that the returns are higher because we are taking advantage of the market dislocations and providing lending to companies that are having difficulties but have a fundamental stable base. Then we also have the direct lending strategy, which is providing lending to the companies. And then we have also the capital solutions.
Okay, that makes a whole bunch of interesting strategies. And how is your group set up? Where are your offices and what about Luxembourg?
So Arcmont is a UK-based, UK-headquartered private asset manager. And we have offices globally. We have 11 offices, and then in addition to that, we have Luxembourg. So Luxembourg is probably one of our bigger offices. Overall, we have about 140 people, with 20 of them being in Luxembourg. So yeah, that is sort of our setup.
Interesting. And any specific evolution you would like to highlight over the last years?
Yes, so the last few years have been very active at Arcmont. In 2023, we were acquired by Nuveen. So Nuveen is one of the largest asset managers in the world with about $1 trillion assets under management. And Nuveen is ultimately owned by TIAA, which is the Teachers Insurance Annuity Association of America. So they are essentially a pension fund for educators. So that acquisition happened. That then sort of expanded our distribution network. Then in 2024, we raised one of the larger private debt funds. It was our direct lending fund, which we raised 10 billion. In 2025, I mentioned recently, we have launched the impact lending strategy, which is focused on the social and environmental objectives. And then, I guess, sort of for us here in Luxembourg, we have moved to our own office space, given the increase in the number of people, and we'll be, taking over that space in the next few weeks. So that for us is a big move for us here in Luxembourg.
Ah, a little bit like us. So yeah, bigger office and more resources.
Yes, no, exactly. Yeah. So to demonstrate our operational resilience.
Completely makes sense. You just mentioned the impact lending angle. Yep. So ESG policy and strategy, I assume everything is well calibrated within the firm?
Yes, so recently we've been given a mandate of about 450 million to invest in this specific type of investments. So it's to European companies that are in sectors like climate change, health, education, and sustainable growth. So it's with and ensuring that we can measure these returns and ensuring that it's measurable. The impact is measurable.
Okay, and before you mentioned the Luxembourg office.
Yes.
So what's a little bit your position on the Luxembourgish ecosystem? Any observations, recommendations?
So the Luxembourg ecosystem is stable and very robust with very pragmatic supervision. So, and also very diverse. I think sort of over the course of the years that I have been here, you can see that there's definitely a scaling up in terms of, the offering, and, people are really demonstrating the skills that are required to support the alternative asset management business. So, but in terms of sort of what could be done better, I would not done better, but things that could be improved. I think as always, simplification of the processes and making things easier for the ecosystem to work. So that would be my sort of thoughts in terms of going forward. Talent is also one of the things that people talk about, and as alternative assets becomes bigger and bigger in Luxembourg, sort of the typical UCITS is not being replaced, but the alternative asset industry is becoming larger. The skill set is a little bit different for that sector, and I think there's the need to continue to skill up people, and I guess that is what the government is doing with the encouragement of people to come in with the impatriate regime, and also with the new proposed carried interest scheme that is going to come in place. So it's all good things, definitely all good things.
Very aligned with the different elements you have just underlined, be it on the simplification side. That's also a passion on our side, to be able to work in a way which makes sense, which is also, let's say, robust and resilient enough, but which in the end also is applicable and can be implemented in a firm. The talents question, if we are moving from this famous back office to the middle office, and in the future, thanks to the carried interest regime, also more front office, that also really is and should be fueled by also new talents and new competences.
Yes, definitely. The one thing I would say, I guess from a personal perspective, there's the guichet, and you have that solution from a personal, if you go there, you can find all the information that you require. I think what might be useful is to have that for companies. So a one-stop shop of all the information that you would require for alternative assets, rather than having to look in different places for information. So I don't know if this is something the LPEA could, encourage or push forward, but I think it should be useful, because I think there are a lot of questions that are out there, and people that ask the questions regularly, but then it will be almost like a frequently asked questions space, and then we could just go there without having to necessarily have to speak to the lawyers or to speak to the auditors.
From our information on our side, we know that there are some plans to make such processes more or leaner, and also to, in the future, specifically for corporates, to also ask documentation not X times, but really focus on one important time, so to mutualize the effort and standardize. Okay. I think that is something we could certainly relay to the Ministry of Economy and or Finance, but this completely makes sense for sure. For competitiveness' sake, we should always look for what else could we do in the meantime to make it easier.
Yep, no, completely agree with you.
And now, Diana, this is also a nice part of the interview. Let's be a little bit more personal now. Tell us more about your studies, and how did you enter, in the end, now the ecosystem?
Right, so I studied in Nigeria. I studied economics, so a little bit different from sort of where I have ended up. And then having studied the economics back in Nigeria, then I took a chartered accountant degree, so I took ACCA, and then I joined Deloitte. And then from Deloitte, I sort of moved over was looking for international experience, and moved over to the Channel Islands. So that has sort of been my path. And then having been in the Channel Islands for about 12 years, I was looking for more opportunities, and then sort of place where wouldn't necessarily limit you in terms of location, because as the Channel Islands is an island, so it's difficult to sort of get out. But here, having now moved into Luxembourg and exploring Europe, it's been a great experience.
Good. I mean, when I was myself on the more, let's say, private services, dedicated to investment funds in the alternative segments.
Yep.
I had also some fond experiences with the Channel Islands.
All right, excellent.
But in the end, and as you rightly underlined here, all the ways brought us back to Luxembourg at one moment in order to also have the right platform and then also to be able to also distribute in an international fashion and also have really the right toolbox and structures.
Yes, yep, yeah, that's true.
You mentioned also talents before.
Yep.
So what piece of advice would you give to young talents interested to also join your firm, but also the industry?
So alternative assets, there are so many different, directions you could go into. It is a question of, do you want to go into the front office, do you want to do in the middle office or into the back office? And depending on what it is that interests you, there are different skills that would be required. But I think what would be useful though is to try and attend internships at some of these firms. We offer an internship program in the London office, but not here in Luxembourg for now. But I think having that opportunity to have a feel for what different parts of the organization does would give you an experience before you sort of make a decision as to what you do, and also meeting people in these different industries. Definitely something that is, as I think generally, is paying attention to details, consistency and hard work is definitely something I'm saying. But then finding the firm, because nowadays our younger generation, their values are very different from the older generation. So finding the organization that is aligned with your values and would guide you and provide you that sort of path in your career.
Also really agree on the different ingredients of your recipe in order to make it a nice career in the field. Yeah. And again, trying and learning by doing is usually let's say a good solution. Yep. And also to remain curious and hardworking, that completely makes sense. Yep. Yeah. Any persons who inspired you during your career, be it now from a personal or professional side?
Yeah, I mean, as a person, for me, it's learning. I'm always keen to improve as an individual. And I think sort of as you meet different people, there are different characteristics you find of people that you want to improve on and work. So there's no particular one person or people that I would point out, but it's for me things like transparency in an organization. I remember there was a particular boss I was working with who were in a difficult situation, and he sort of walked onto the floor and spoke to everybody and said, I acknowledge the fact that we are currently going through a difficult situation, but I want to reassure you that we are working on it and we are doing something. So I think that, transparency and empathy with people that you are working with, I think is one of the very important skills.
That example also here kind of shows a positive communicator, eager also to share either his experience or some of his ideas with also the rest of the pack. Of the pack,
yes, no, definitely. It was sort of, being amongst the people that you are working with and being approachable, I think is really, really, really important.
Okay. I assume that next to your fantastic job, you also have other hobbies. What about books, podcasts, TV series, or movies you would like to recommend?
The podcast that I really enjoy is Diary of a CEO by Stephen Barnett. So he's a British serial entrepreneur, and he has interviewed a lot of different people. He's interviewed Michelle Obama, he's interviewed Ray Dalio, and I think the variety of his podcasts are really very interesting. So it's not always, economic specific, it's also personal, it's health. So I think that variation, I really enjoy his podcast. So I would highly recommend that.
We will listen in. Thanks a lot for that, Diana. And also thanks for being present today. And it was really a pleasure to be conducting this interview together.
Thank you very much, Stefan, for the invitation. I look forward to meeting up with you soon.
The same on our side. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.